On a stormy night, a terrified Labrador found her way into the tiger enclosure at the local zoo. The potential for a vicious attack loomed, but what unfolded next left everyone in awe. Siling, also known as Jim, had earned a distinguished reputation as an animal advocate. Armed with an extensive background in the field, he had dedicated himself to safeguarding animals of all kinds. When he secured a permanent position as a consultant at the nearby zoo, he recognized it as an opportunity to make an even greater impact. At the zoo, Jim diligently carried out his responsibilities, offering guidance on the care and treatment of the resident animals and even assessing the potential for social interactions among them. Beyond his professional duties, he remained actively involved in animal rescue efforts, extending a helping hand wherever needed. One fateful day, while en route to work, Jim encountered a precious Labrador puppy abandoned on the street. Without hesitation, he scooped up the little pup and brought her to the zoo. He lovingly named her Lou and decided to provide her a forever home. As a result, Lou grew up within the confines of the zoo, becoming the cherished canine companion of the zoo staff. She eagerly accompanied Jim to work each day, endearing herself to everyone she met. Lou took her duties seriously, making her rounds alongside her human friend, checking on the resident animals from behind the safety of glass enclosures and offering them friendly greetings. Lou also lent a helping paw to the staff, assisting with various tasks such as carrying goods and soothing agitated animals. Jim treasured her presence, and during colder months, he appreciated the extra warmth she provided in the room as she nestled at his feet. Beyond his work at the zoo, Jim remained actively engaged with other organizations dedicated to rescuing and protecting wild animals, further exemplifying his unwavering commitment to animal welfare. They often reached out to Jim, seeking his assistance whenever he was available, whether it was to aid in the rescue of distressed creatures or seek his expert advice on the rehabilitation of rescued animals. 3 years after Jim had welcomed Lou into his life, he received an urgent call from a rural agency. Their message was alarming. They had stumbled upon 3 abandoned tiger cubs, left without the protection of their mother. Jim was taken aback. Such calls were infrequent, typically involving injured urban wildlife or smaller creatures. The mere fact that these defenseless cubs had been deserted hinted at a tragic story surrounding their mother's fate. The agency impressed upon Jim their desperate need to find a suitable home for the cubs, but their efforts had thus far been in vain. Jim willingly offered to have the zoo take them in. Although it would demand round-the-clock care during fostering, he believed the zoo environment was best suited to nurture and safeguard them. At the time, however, he couldn't predict how Lou would react to the presence of these magnificent big cats. The following day, when the cubs arrived at the zoo, an eager crowd, including Jim and the zoo staff, gathered to greet them. The cubs were undeniably captivating, their fluffy coats indicative of their youth. They were promptly taken to the zoo's hospital section for a thorough examination, and the excitement was palpable. Lou, already deeply enamored with the newcomers, joined the group. Jim found himself unable to explain Lou's extraordinary reaction. It seemed as if some primal instinct had been triggered within her. She was captivated by the cubs and made every effort to draw closer to them. After the cubs received their checkup and necessary medications, the veterinarian proposed allowing Lou to interact with them, curious to see how she would respond. What unfolded was beyond anyone's expectations. The Labrador immediately began licking the cubs as though they were her own offspring, cradling them close to her belly to provide warmth and protection. It became abundantly clear that Lou had wholeheartedly embraced the role of a mother to the tiger cubs, and in turn, they accepted her as their guardian. Both the veterinarian and Jim were left astounded by this remarkable and rare occurrence, something beyond human replication. Indeed, it appeared to be the best thing that could have happened to the young cubs. Consequently, they made the decision to allow Lou to continue nurturing her newfound maternal instincts. During the evenings when Jim returned home, he left Lou in the hospital wing with the tiger cubs. Lou approached her role with utmost seriousness, dutifully grooming the cubs, assisting them during meals, and even providing guidance when they displayed unruly behavior. Observing the transformation of the once shy and timid cubs into confident and spirited young felines was truly fascinating. The zoo staff did their best to extend the period of cohabitation between Lou and the cubs. However, the inevitable day arrived when the unique family needed to be separated. The tiger cubs required interaction with their fellow big cats, while Lou needed protection from their sharp claws and teeth. Initially, Lou appeared somewhat distressed by the separation, but eventually, she adapted and moved forward. Like all parents watching their offspring venture into the world, she seemed content to witness the cubs thrive on their own. There were no plans for a reunion, but fate had other ideas. 2 years after Lou had been separated from her adopted cubs, a rather peculiar event occurred. It was during the summer, known for its stormy weather in the region. The zoo had previously weathered its share of storms, but none as severe as the massive typhoon that suddenly struck one day. The typhoon was so intense that it plunged the entire city into darkness, cutting off its electricity supply, including the zoo. Jim and his colleagues sprang into action, ensuring the safety of the zoo's inhabitants. However, amid the chaos, they inadvertently forgot about Lou. Storms were Lou's greatest fear, and this one, in particular, terrified her. All she knew was the pressing need to find shelter from the torrential rain and howling winds. She was utterly terrified. In her desperation to escape the storm, she darted from one enclosure to another, ultimately leaping over a wall and landing in a fenced area. Deep within the confines of the zoo, Lou found herself in a sunken enclosure, a place she had inadvertently stumbled upon in her fear-induced haste. Rising awkwardly to her feet, she surveyed her surroundings in the dim light and caught a whiff of something else within the enclosure. Staying close to the enclosure's wall, she strained to make out her surroundings. Suddenly, movement stirred in the shadows, and she saw nothing but a series of striking stripes. In an instant, she recognized where she was, the adult tiger enclosure. Fear coursed through her, her body trembling, knowing that just moments separated her from the massive paws of these powerful predators, with no means of defending herself. Slowly and deliberately, the tigers began to reveal themselves, a total of 6 imposing figures eyeing Lou with a sense of perceived threat. Their disposition was far from friendly, but then again, friendly was not an adjective commonly attributed to tigers. Desperately, Lou attempted to make herself appear larger and more defensive, yet her efforts seemed futile. What could a simple Labrador do in the face of such ferocious animals? She braced herself for an imminent attack when suddenly, she glimpsed movement behind the 6 tigers that had been observing her. In a flash of stripes, 3 more tigers materialized right before the original 6. However, these new arrivals weren't directed at her. Instead, they faced their peers. It was as if they were forming a protective barrier around her. Finally catching their familiar scent, all of Lou's anxieties and fears dissipated. In front of her stood the 3 cubs she had nurtured and raised years ago. Separated for so long, they still remembered her, just as she remembered them. With the arrival of the younger tigers, the tension diffused, and Lou was no longer viewed as a threat. The older tigers calmly retreated to their posts, settling down to endure the storm. An even more incredible sight unfolded as the young tigers turned their affection towards their adoptive mother, showering her with love. Thrilled to be reunited, they huddled together and safeguarded her until the storm finally abated. The tigers hadn't forgotten Lou, the one who had cared for them from infancy, and they have found their own unique way to repay her kindness. It was a moment of profound beauty, a testament to the enduring memories of wild animals. This heartwarming story transcended boundaries and embodied the power of love. Imagine witnessing a Labrador fostering tigers or fully grown tigers cuddling a dog, a remarkable testament to the bonds that can form between species. Share your thoughts in the comments below. Thank you for watching. Until next time.